Hey team, welcome back to HGDesignsCrochet, HGDC. I'm Heather and this is my channel. I have a thing about granny squares, a thing about pink and a thing about leopard print, and I share everything about running my own crochet business, motherhood and everything else in between. We have a typical sit down chat today, so we're going to do finished objects and we're going to do works in progress, inside HGDC and a little bit of chatty stuff. I have one finished object, I have 2, 3 works in progress, and I have lots and lots to chat about. So it is a grey overcast day, however it is not cold enough to be wearing this, but I absolutely love it. I got it a couple of weeks ago. It was in the sale and it only cost me something like £12 when it should have been £30. Tesco, if anyone wants one. And it's got these bows to do it up and it's leopard print and I just love it so much. So let's see how much of the vlog it lasts for, but at least you'll have seen it now and it's in my thumbnail. I'm gonna do the chatty bit first whilst I work on some granny squares because there's quite a little bit to fill you in on. It's not even a little bit. The last 3 months have been insane and there's so much to fill you in on. So if I do that bit now, then the rest of the vlog will make sense. So I'm using this glitter gold. I got this from like B&M or One Beyond or something like that. And I'm going to make some centres which I'm then going to add to my stash, my centre stash. But anyway, I build my granny squares from these afterwards, so hopefully I will be okay making these because there's going to be a lot of counting. Let's see how we get on. Where to start? The last 3 months have been a lot, and you know what, I feel like this is just a continuing theme because every time I give an update, I'm like, it's been a lot, it's been intense, it's been tough. Life has just been giving a lot of difficult circumstances and we have really felt that in the last 3 months. So I was doing pretty well with HGDC, putting out content, doing my vlog, showing up, all of that. And then around March time, Teddy became poorly, Brad was poorly, my cousin passed away, our neighbour passed away, Brad's step-grandmother passed away. It just felt like it was coming from all angles. And then on top of that, I had been dealing with some health things. So we had funerals in April and understandably both mine and Brad's minds were elsewhere with the losses that we've been through. Then into May, and May was just I don't even know how to process it, to put it into words. May was filled with a lot of health issues, mainly on my part. So I've not made it a secret that I've been dealing with postpartum PTSD following my pregnancy and delivery of my son. And with that, there's been the mental health aspect, but there's also been the physical health aspect. I was having such a worrying pain in my stomach that I'd been to see the doctors about when I was 6 months postpartum, and then when Teddy was like 18 months old, and then again recently, he's just turned 3. But I was thinking that this pain is so abnormal that what if it's something sinister and I don't want to leave it, I need to get it looked at. So I did go to the doctors. And I've been previously, as I said, but it was always put down to, like, I had a few basic tests, blood tests done, they came back fine, and it was just put down to like anxiety, new mother, maybe you're not coping as a new mother, it's because you extended your breastfeeding. I continued nursing him till he was 2, it's not even extended. And so the last time I went and that was said to me, I just decided, right, if there's nothing wrong with my bloods, then I will just clean up my own lifestyle. So food, make sure I'm getting the nutrition that I require, supplements, all of those things, trying to do steady exercise. And I did make loads of changes, but I never really felt like huge changes. There was one supplement that I took that really did help out with the hormone side of things and my cycle, but the fatigue, the body pains, the aches, everything else was still always there. And I would go through these times where I'd have flare-ups, but I didn't know what I was having a flare-up of. And then add in that Teddy isn't one to sleep a lot, let's put it that way. And so a lot of it got explained away of like, maybe you just sleep deprived. So the focus was on getting him to sleep more. So I night weaned him at the start of the year, which FYI made no difference other than it is now harder to settle him. And if I had my time over, I probably wouldn't night wean him. But anyway, it was like focusing on trying to get him to sleep a bit more, sleep a bit longer, so that I could sleep a bit more, sleep a bit longer, and then my health should improve, right? Only you can't make a child sleep, especially a child that's potentially on the spectrum. And that's a whole other thing. But needless to say, there's not been a whole lot of sleep going on, which will have an impact, but I still felt like there was something more underlying. So I had this pain and I went to the doctors in May, and I went in there with a whole list and I was ready to fight and be like, I need every single test, scan, referral, whatever. I need to know what is going on with my body. Why do I get pains in specific places? What is going on? And I actually saw a GP there that I hadn't seen before. I've seen 2 different ones previously. Neither of them took me seriously. This one, however, had hyperemesis herself. Hyperemesis is basically extreme sickness, nausea, vomiting during pregnancy. And you don't have to have the vomiting for it to be hyperemesis, just in case you're wondering. She had been through that herself, and she'd had 3 pregnancies, each one a hyperemesis pregnancy. So now having a knowledge of hyperemesis, HG, she said to me, hyperemesis doesn't cause that. It doesn't leave you in constant pain, constant fatigue. Because previously my consultant who treated me for HG had said, leave it 2 years before you attempt to conceive baby 2, because your body needs time to recover. So all of those things combined, what I'd been going through has just been explained away. But because this lady had been through hyperemesis 3 times and had not been left in the state that I'm in, she was like, no, something's going on here. So she sent me off for a load of blood tests, but she also sent off for rheumatoid arthritis. She also sent me for scans. So I had a scan on my bladder, kidneys, liver. Was it my bladder? It wasn't my bladder, sorry. Gallbladder, kidneys, liver and spleen. And then I had blood tests, and that was on a Friday. Then the following Tuesday I made another appointment with that doctor, and I explained some of the other things that had been going on and ongoing since I'd had Teddy. So I spoke to her about the nightmares and how bad they had been, and because I'd spoken to her about my pregnancy on the Friday, the whole weekend was completely obliterated with these flashbacks, these nightmares. And whenever that happens, the pain that I feel in my body is worse. So whether that's stress, whether it's lack of sleep, whatever it is. And I also get really painful ears. So I went there on the Tuesday and said my ears really hurt, all of these things. And I expected when she looked that there would be nothing wrong with me at all. That it's all in my head, because I'm constantly being told it's all in my head. It's just anxiety. It's not real. It's not happening. You just need to change your mind. You just need to try harder. And she checked in my ears and she was like, they're really inflamed. So she gave me antibiotics, like a antibiotic spray for that. And she said, what you're experiencing is PTSD, and this has not been resolved. So although I'm under a team for maternal mental health, she also referred me to the community mental health team, because they're not joined up. So what the maternal mental health might be able to offer, community mental health, like they might have different resources basically. So I've been referred to them. I also spoke to her about the bladder and bowel issues that I've had since I've had Teddy, and that I went when Teddy was 6 weeks and 6 months old to talk about these issues, and I was just dismissed, like everything's normal, it's fine. I don't get how anybody can tell you that your body is normal when you're telling you this is not typical, this is not my body. But anyway, that's what happened to me twice. So I've just been getting on with the issues that I'm having, but I've just been dealing with it in my own way. But what else am I supposed to do? I'm being told that everything's typical and normal and just to get on with it. So I spoke to her about all of these things, and she said, I'm going to try you on a medication for your bladder. I then had blood tests that Thursday, and then I had the scan on the Friday, or the other way around. I think it was the scan first and then the blood test. So this is in the middle of May, so the whole of May was absorbed with medical admin. And to put this into context, every time I go to the doctors, it is an actual ordeal. It leaves me in... Because I had so many appointments when I was pregnant with Teddy, and because I had to attend them all on my own, and because I just knew for the first 21 weeks, I was just told, this is all in your head, this is not happening, there's nothing we can do to help you, you just need to try harder, you're not coping as a pregnant, you're not coping in your pregnancy, you're not going to cope as a mother, you're scared of being pregnant, just all this nonsense that I was repeatedly told. No matter how hard I begged, pleaded, no matter how much I stayed calm, no matter how much I stated my case, no matter how much I shouted, nothing ever got through to these people until I had kidney and liver damage. So now I just have it in my head that when I go to the doctors, unless something is severely wrong, I'm not going to be taken seriously, I'm not going to be treated. It's just going to be explained away as anxiety. So even making the appointment is stressful. Like the whole thing is just not, the system's just not working. It's stressful to the max. And I made the appointments, and I made them so that Brad would be home with Teddy and I could go. I wish that I could go and have support, but logistically it is really difficult. Most of my friends have children Teddy's age, so they have their own responsibility. So at most they can take care of Teddy for me, but they can't come with me. And then if Brad does come with me, we either have to take Teddy or find someone to sit with Teddy for half an hour. And logistically it's just a nightmare. Sometimes I just wish there was somebody I could just call up and be like, I need to go to the doctors, can you come with me? Because maybe that person would be taken more seriously. Maybe I'd feel a bit more reassured and calm having someone there. But anyways, I went to the first two by myself. The scan, Brad dropped me off, but I had to go in by myself because Teddy had no chill at that time, and that's to be expected, he's 3. So I did that by myself, and then I did the blood test by myself. That only took 2 attempts. I didn't cry till I got home. And it's funny because the lady was like, normally people are like, don't be scared of needles, there's nothing to be scared of. But the lady doing my bloods was like, what happened to you that you feel this scared? And I just said that when I had my appendix out, it took 13 attempts for them to put a cannula in me. And when I was pregnant, I had to have blood tests every 2 weeks or every week for the last 22 weeks of my pregnancy. And it left, I still have scars from it now. And because I was dehydrated from hyperemesis, it was literal hell getting the blood out of me. I couldn't stay hydrated, let alone then provide blood. It's the first time somebody was like understanding, was like, I can see how that would be really traumatic. All these appointments, and I had 5 medical appointments in the space of 10 days, wiped me out. A week later, I found a lump in my breast. My cousin passed away in March from secondary breast cancer, and my grandmother has breast cancer, and I found this lump and I was like, Lord, no. Please no. So I went to the doctors again. That was really stressful. I had to have a physical examination in order to be then sent to the hospital, to be referred to the hospital. I did not want that examination, but I couldn't access further medical care without it. So I had to allow somebody to examine me and touch me to say, yeah, there is a lump there, which I'd already told you there's a lump there, to then be able to say, I don't know what it is, I now need to refer you. What's the point? You've just added to more stress. So I did that. I cried throughout the entire thing. I can't, like, when I was pregnant, the amount of procedures, the amount of people that touched me, medical examinations I was told I had to do, I had no choice, is like, I have a whole list of them, including when I was in labour, some woman stuck her hand in me because she wanted me to prove that I was pushing. And then when she did put her hand in there and I was proving that I was pushing, she also realised my child was stuck. Like, it just brings back so much pain, and I had to allow this person to touch me, to be like, yeah, you're right, there is a lump. I know there's a lump. I know there is because I found it. That's why I'm here. Obviously, I had a chaperone. It was all done correctly, but it just feels degrading and humiliating. And you should be able to say, no, I don't want you to, because you can't do anything anyway. You can't tell me what it is. So why do you need to touch me? Why do you need to see my body? So I did that, left there absolutely beside myself, upset, gutted, because I was going to go there. They could not book it with a female member of staff. There was not one available. And obviously with what I'd found, I felt there was an urgency and I needed to get it seen there and then so that I could be referred. So I was just going to refuse the medical examination. But he said, if you don't, then I can't refer you. Like, you have no choice. It's not consent. You can't consent. You have no choice. You are forced. So I did that. I was forced to do that, to then be told you'll be referred. It should be a 2-week wait. However, the service in our area is so overloaded, you'll be waiting 4 weeks. So I've just come to you and told you that I found a lump. You're telling me that it's urgent. I need to let you check it now so that I can be referred because I need urgent care. But you're also telling me that urgent care I can only access if you are allowed to touch me, and that the service is under pressure, so I won't be seen for 4 weeks. So I left there angry and just beside myself. And I got the referral through and it was for 4 weeks' time. So I went there early June. I think it was like the 9th of June. And I wasn't then going to be seen till the 9th of July. Today is the 5th of July. And again, absolutely beside myself. Like, how can they leave you for 4 weeks when it said in the message, your 2-week scan, but the date was 4 weeks from the date that I'd been referred. And then that same day, I got a phone call from the doctor that I had seen when I was there, because I said to him, I'm waiting to hear back about these blood results. I was told somebody will call me today. And he said, yeah, I'll ring you later today. Now, I totally understand it would have thrown his day off. They have a process, yada, yada, yada. I get all of that. But me as a person and as a patient, to have somebody sit there and explain things to me and me have a chance to be able to ask questions, especially whilst Brad was there, would have made the world of difference, rather than getting home and having a call at like 6 o'clock in the evening, the most hurried call. Your bloods have come back, your kidney's fine, your liver's fine, but the markers show that you have rheumatoid arthritis. And I was like, okay, what does that mean? That means you're probably going to need medication and I'm going to refer you to hospital. Okay, so what do I do in the meantime? You just wait. What does this mean for my health? What does this mean for the hospital will talk to you? So of course he puts the phone down and then I Google it and then you're like, what the... I'm still not processed any of that. I haven't heard from the hospital. I looked at our local hospital online and it said that the wait time is 16 to 18 weeks, which takes me to October, but I haven't even had a letter confirming an appointment, nothing at all. I don't know when I'll be seen for that. In terms of the breast lump, we are in the fortunate position that Brad has private healthcare, and we made the decision at the start of this year to add me on just in case. And so because I have been added in, it meant that we could pay the excess, and I went privately to have the lump checked. And thank God I was told that it was just a change in the tissue in my breast and there's nothing to worry about there. There's nothing untoward. And because the care there was so amazing, so great, I also said to Brad that I have like a mole on my leg that I'm concerned about. It had been scarring. My scars are normally like a purplish brown. This was black. And I said, I just need to get it checked. It's been there for quite a few months. So we went the next week, got that checked, and they said that it should heal, but if it doesn't, because it had been there a few months, and they said if it doesn't heal, then go back and we'll cut it out. So I felt reassured that it's not cancer, but I didn't feel reassured that I might be going and getting that cut out. All of this has been going on throughout May and June, and my brain had gone through all of the possible outcomes. What if I'm not here? What if I pass away? What will Brad and Teddy do? What will we do about paying the bills? How will Brad work and take care of Teddy? And I just, because it was stressing me so much, I sat down one night at 3 a.m. and I just wrote a plan. If I am diagnosed with C word, this is what we will do. In the worst case scenario, if I pass away, this is what I want to have in place for my family. If this is not the C word, this is what I'm going to do. And that's the only way I could calm my mind. And once I'd done that, I was just ready to go into the appointments and just face whatever came. And thankfully, it's nothing sinister. But all of that has been playing out in the last month, 3 months. Unfortunately, the private healthcare doesn't cover rheumatoid arthritis. They don't cover chronic ongoing issues. I went to A&E a few weeks back with some heart pains that I've been having. I spent 8 hours there, and then the doctor just said it's just anxiety. And when I left there, I've said this to you before, but we've been to emergency care and not been treated, not been taken seriously. The doctor literally said to me, we've done the basic blood test, you're not going to drop down dead, so this is not for us to deal with, you need to go back to your GP. So how you can ring for care, I rang 111 at 1 a.m. with excruciating heart pain, and they said we need to send an ambulance. The ambulance crew rang me back and said they are so maxed out they can't get an ambulance to me. So I took an Uber by myself to A&E and spent 8 hours amongst some of the most grotty characters that are amongst our society. There were 4 police officers there attending 2 people. It was just vile. There was blood on the seats, there was puke in places. It was just disgusting. To then be told by a doctor it's just anxiety. The only thing causing me anxiety is being here and knowing that I'm not going to get treated. But with that, I came back and I said to Brad, we can't rely on these services. You think that they're going to be there, but they're not. And that isn't me saying these people, like, it's not me saying that the staff don't care. It's not that. The system is just not there for them. I watched 2 members of staff, a supervisor and another person, somebody with a lower level, arguing about care for somebody. This nurse, I'm assuming she's a nurse, came in and said to who must have been a supervisor, because she was trying to get authorization from him, saying that this person's dressing needs sorting out. They've been on this day, this day, this day. I can do it, I can sort it out, and we can refer them. And the supervisor was saying, this is emergency care. Changing a dressing is not emergency care. They need to go back to their GP. And the nurse was saying, but the GP keeps telling them to come back here. I can just do it, and then we can refer them on. They can access the help they need. And the supervisor was saying, it's not for us to do it. We're only emergency care. I could see the frustration in both of them. I'm guessing the supervisor's being told emergency care only, wait times, blah, blah, blah. And I can see from the nurse's point of view, I can help this person and we can get them the care they need, and that's what they're here for. So that's why we made the decision to access the private care. It did come at a cost to us, but it was worth it, because I wouldn't have even been seen still at this point 3 weeks later. And you don't want that festering away in the back of your head, like, what if I'm about to go through life-changing treatment? And when I'd written down the plan, I spoke to Brad about it all, the bits that I'd need him to help me with, what we were going to do, and we discussed at what point he would take time off work. So I felt ready to face it all, but I just had to wait for the medical care. With all of that going on, usually I find like refuge in HGDC and the work that needs to be done, but I just couldn't focus. I have really struggled with fatigue levels and pain. We had a heat wave recently. How did you get on in the heat wave? Because it was brutal here. Teddy was sleeping from like 5:30, 7:30-ish to 11:30, and then starting his day and then not sleeping at all until maybe a midday nap. But it was really, really tough having that abrupt sleep change and very limited sleep. Thankfully, I've had some really good news, but I still then have the rheumatoid arthritis to further investigate and to look into. I do have a couple of friends that are GPs, and when one of them messaged me, they did say, look, the chances of your hands becoming deformed are so small nowadays with the correct medication and with the understanding and support. So that has reassured me, because I've had all these questions in my mind, like, am I going to become bedbound at some point? Like, how progressive is this? Am I going to lose the use of my hands? Am I going to need to be cared for? How am I caring for my family? And I've just not been able to speak to anybody to even talk about those things. And I might not until the end of the year. So having a friend that is a qualified GP say that to me has given me a little bit of reassurance. It's been a lot. It's been really, really intense, really, really scary. We've been through it. So that's led me to this point. Then on top of that as well, June is Teddy's birthday, and that is also then the anniversary of everything that I've been through, and every year I've found that really difficult. The medication that I went on for my bladder and my bowels messed me up. It made my control worse. Like, I was struggling to be able to speak, I was struggling to be able to walk. It was not good. So when I had the follow-up, the GP said that she is going to refer me to the hospital to get support there, rather than sort of trying out different medications and maybe having adverse responses to them. So I'm also waiting for that referral. My brain has been elsewhere, basically. My mind has been on my health, our future. So difficult. I haven't been able to keep up with HGDC, and I was beating myself up for it. I was like, I should be able to do this. Other people do this. They go to work, they deal with this. And I just wasn't giving myself the grace of, like, other people do go to work and they deal with that, but maybe they don't have PTSD, or maybe they're not okay and they have no choice. They have to keep going. They have to keep going through the motions of day-to-day life, and that doesn't mean that their mental health is better or they're dealing better. They could be in actual crisis point, but the support just isn't there, and that there is bravery in sharing what is going on in your life. And I also did have an absolute wobble of, like, can I even keep HGDC going or not? So we'll talk about that bit in the Inside HGDC section. I did want to say thank you to everybody who has reached out with messages, with emails, with comments, and just sending me support and love and helping me through these difficult few months. Your support, your love, your understanding, like, you are my community, you are my village, you are my team. And without you all, I dread to think where I would be, because I've been in those dark places before. And just having you reach out and be like, I know what it's like to deal with chronic health. I know what it's like to deal with just life. It just really makes me feel less alone. And I can't thank you enough for that. I made 2. I can't count and talk, evidently. I'm going to show you the finished object. I'm going to show you the works in progress. But first, please make sure you're staying hydrated. Finished objects. Haha! This is Teddy's birthday blanket. If you've watched my birthday vlog, then you will have seen this. It's so huge. I don't actually know I'm going to be able to hold it up to share with you. So instead, I'm going to add in some footage, if at all possible. Editing Heather, please do your magic. Wow! I don't think I can fit it in that way. So this is Teddy's birthday blanket. If you're new here, then this is my son's birthday present. He was 3 in June and he didn't need any toys. He didn't really need much of anything, but I really wanted to get him a gift. So I decided I was going to contribute to his savings account, but I wanted to gift him something. And when I kept asking him what he wanted, he kept coming back to he wanted a colourful blanket. So there I was on Google looking for colourful blankets and not liking any of them. And I was like, I can make you a colourful blanket. So that's what I did. It is, you know what, I don't know how big it is. Let's check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's 7 by 9 squares. I don't know what that is, so I'll just put it on the screen for you. It's huge. It's absolutely huge, as you will have seen in the footage that I have hopefully put up for you. And I wasn't going to make it this big, but I explained I wanted a blanket that was going to grow with him. I wanted it to be future proof so that in 10, 20, 30 years time it can still be used and bring comfort to him and maybe grandchildren that I have, who knows. So originally it was about half the size and I realised it wasn't future proof, that he couldn't really snuggle under it, so I decided to double it. And with everything that's been going on, doubling it meant that I did that in the week leading up to his birthday. So it was a lot of crochet and it actually did cause a little bit of pain in my muscle here. I had a bit of a lump from what I think is repetitive strain. So I had to take a week and a bit off crochet after this, which to be honest, I needed the break because I'd just done so much. I think I made 33-ish squares and then joined nearly 40 of them and did the border and did the ends all in a week. So I was ready for a break. They are 8 round granny squares. I've used double knit yarn. I need to weigh it because I'm not sure how much I used, but I know I used 200 and this is all that was left from the third ball, I believe it was this one, when I was joining it. So it used about 230 to 250 grams of yarn, and then however much was in the squares. I decided to go with colours that he loves. He would happily have a rainbow one, but I decided to omit the pinks, the purples, and just go with the blues and the greens. And then his favourite colour is red and orange, and I love the yellows for him as well. His middle name is Ray. So that's the colours that we went with. I made 2 of each square and yeah, joined it all together. So that's his birthday blanket. I'm not sure whether I'm going to make that into a pattern or not. I don't know if there's a need for it. It's a great stash busting blanket. It worked up quite quickly for a gift. And let's be honest, with the way utility bills are right now, it might not be a bad idea for you to make yourself one anyway, so that you can snuggle under it come the colder months. It's that big that I can fold this in like 2 or 3 and really like tuck him into it and know that he's got a good layer on top of him. And it's also going to be the colour scheme for his bedroom, by the way, once we get round to doing that. So yeah, don't know whether to make that into a pattern or not. Don't know if the demand is there. I am thinking of making another one, but in more my own colours, HGDC colours, so that then if I do release it, I can have photos done with it for the photo shoot, and it be on brand. But I can't quite face, I want to make one, but I also don't want to have yet another work in progress on the go. That's my only finished object for June. I did very, very little crochet time in June, as you will have gathered from my chatty intro. I finished this, I took a week and a half break, and then I've been working on 2 works in progress, so I'll show you those now. Work in progress 1 are these granny squares. Where is that project? Where is it? I seem to have lost part of my project. Now, those squares have been going into this and the next project I'm going to talk about. So in this bag are loads of granny squares. They are 2 rounds using my acrylic stash. I just make tons of them in loads of different colorways. There is this bag full that I have as like my working bag. I can dip into it, I can use them, and Teddy plays with them. And then these 3 have granny squares in, and I've organised them via their colour. So this one has got too much dog hair in it. Blues and greys and greens. And in the yellow part I have the yellow, white, bit of orange in there. And then in the pink part, no surprises, I have the pinks and the purples. That one shouldn't be in there. So there are loads of them, absolutely loads. I have no idea how many granny squares I currently have, but I have this stack, and then I have this. And what I do is I make centres, which you were just seeing me make. And I put all of the centres in this pouch while I'm working on them. And then once the pouch starts to get full, which it is getting there now, I will empty it out and I put them in these organisers. So I have 2 organisers at the moment, and this one has got the pinks and some oranges in there. And then in this one, I basically have all the other colours. So there's some yellow, some red, some peach, and greens, and some blues. And I make up loads of the centres. And then once I've done that, I will pick out 3, 4, 5 colours. So right now I've got the orange, I've got yellow, I've got burgundy, and I've got a purple. And I have actually pulled these out to make centres, but once my centre pot is full, I will then pull out a load of colours like this, and then I will pick 5 to 10 centres, and I will use this as the second round, and then they will then go into the organisers, and some of them will go into here. I don't have all of my granny squares in here just because Teddy loves to play with them, but it means that he's constantly dumping it out. And now that we're getting towards the 1,000 mark, it's a lot of granny squares to keep track of. And with him dumping them on the floor, sometimes they're just getting covered in crumbs and dog hair. So I'm trying to keep a load of them out of the way. So I will probably half this at some point. I've been bit by bit reducing it and he's not noticed, thankfully. So I'll probably put half of them into here and put those into a smaller bag. And then he's just got a small amount he can play with. And then if I'm working on a project and I need to swap a granny square for whatever reason, maybe I've not realised the colour's duplicated, I will then dip into this pack rather than having to go and get those, because I keep those upstairs hidden out of the way. So when I was taking a break from crochet, I was weaving in the ends, and I was like, okay, yeah, I'll weave in all the ends and then I will crack on with the next project. Dear viewer, I can confirm that I wove in about 40 squares and I was done. I was so done. And I started making more squares instead. So I have started making more centres and more squares because there are different yarns in my stash that aren't represented in here. And I was finding when I was laying them out for a project I'm working on, I didn't have enough colour combinations. So that's why I then decided to make a few more, and then that evolved into I need to refill my organisers so that I can get a real good mix of colours going. I'm making more and more because I want to make an absolutely huge, like a blanket this size, but out of the 2 round granny squares, then I will use the continuous join as you go in this colour because I have a lot of that to join it in. So I'm happy to have like 1,200, 1,500 of those squares knocking around so that when it comes to putting that blanket together, I've got plenty of colour combinations. And it just gives me something to do when my hands need something a bit mindless to work on. The only thing is I find because it means I need to have more balls of yarn with me, it's not always as portable as I would like, and it's not always something to have around Teddy because invariably he wants to get involved, which means yarn bath when he's tangled it up, or you know. So sometimes I find myself reaching for this when he's in his car seat. I know he can't get to what I'm doing because I'm in the back with him, not driving, or maybe later at night once he's gone to sleep. It can be tough sometimes to get to work on projects where I need a lot around me and spread out. I would never have these around him, and I don't have these around him just because he will want to play with it. It's natural, but I don't want to have to put it all back together. So I do sometimes find it hard to sneak in times to work on my projects. I just love to have it all spread out around me, and I just love to be enveloped in yarn and granny squares. So the other project that I've been working on with these granny squares is I'm working on a not so secret granny square garment. I think that's the official name now. The not so secret garment. I have made a bit of a boo-boo with this one. Let me show you it and then I'll tell you. Okay, so my not so secret granny square garment is using the 2 round granny squares, and then I've done the continuous join as you go in the joining colour, same as the birthday blanket. It is Off-White by Yarnsmith. I've made this really big panel because I wanted a really big oversized garment, and then I've made a front panel which I am considering including a zipper in. So I've made the granny squares in such a way that I can include the zipper. There's been a little bit of a judgment of error on this one. I decided to sort of just eyeball it and jump in rather than take measurements, and most of that being because of where my brain has been at this past few months. I've just not had the brain space for it, and so because of that the measurements are massively off. I know they are. So I really pushed one night, stayed up later than I should have to get this panel put together, to realise that I've made this panel longer than this panel, but because I did them bottom up, I can't take a bottom off the row without undoing the entire thing basically. So I'm gonna have to take off, you know where it splits, I'm gonna have to take off that entire bit and then take off a row and then put that bit back on. No biggie, I can do it. It's probably like an evening's worth of work if I get an evening, but when I laid it out I think the panels are just too big entirely, and I used these to put the 2 sort of shoulder bits together and put it over me. It just seemed huge, so I do need to take some measurements and see where I'm at. I'm basing it off a oversized fleece that I really like wearing, and so I'm gonna have to lay that out, do the measurements, figure out what size this actually needs to be, how many granny squares it needs to be, and restart. Both of them might need, it's not too difficult to take the length off, but if I need to make the width smaller then I am going to have to start both again. I'm not too gutted because I have been working on these projects as just something to join together, which is why I am thinking I should just start a blanket, because then, you know, I could just work on that when I just need to join something. But anyway, I'm not too mad at myself because I needed something to work on. I worked on these when Teddy and Brad were poorly. I then took it apart because I'd done it in Aran yarn, and I've put them in double knit, and I'm now probably going to take them apart. So it's not the smartest way to work though, which is where I am a little bit annoyed at myself, because crochet time is like gold dust sometimes, and then when I'm putting time in on something I know I'm then going to have to frock, it don't really make sense. But this is the not so secret granny garment of the month at the moment. So I'll let you know when I've done the measurements and what sort of surgery these need doing. I haven't woven in any of the ends, and if I'm honest, if I start again, I'm going to weave in all the ends of the granny squares, because then if it's not woven into the joining yarn, it's much easier to take apart. Otherwise I will not join them until the very last minute, just in case I get to the final fit and I realise that something's not right, because it's just so difficult to take apart. So that's one of my works in progress, and then the other work in progress is that I'm adding to the granny square stash, especially because I want this to have granny square sleeves as well, so that's going to need, I don't know how many, but that's going to come out of the pile. And then I need about 1,000 for the blanket, and I'm not sure. Originally my thought was, okay, I will weave in all the ends and then I'll join them together. And now I'm thinking I might join 1 or 2 rows and then weave in the ends and do it that way. But I might start joining those, or I might start the big birthday blanket number 2. I don't know. Do I do a birthday blanket, or do I do the big huge massive blanket with the 2 Moan granny squares first? I feel like if I do the birthday blanket, then I can just get that pattern done and out there. The other work in progress I want to share with you is a bit of a non-starter. It's this yarn. I shared it with you in my last vlog that I'm trying to stash down, whatever you call it. I'm trying to reduce my stash, and this is one of the yarns I picked out, and it's had a lot of non-starters. I did the entire body of the petite knit sweater, decided it wasn't for me. I'm getting hot in this top. I did half a back panel of a cardigan, decided it wasn't for me, tried to make it bigger, got about a third of the way through, decided it's not for me, and I keep starting it. I did spot a comment come through from Shard that she would potentially buy it off me. So my thoughts are, I either go back to the original pattern that I purchased it for and attempt to make that, or I just sell it and be done. I just don't know. Okay, it's from WW Knitting and Crochet. I don't know what magazine it is. It's one that my grandmother bought. I saw it and was like, I really want to make it. So we went to the shop there and then and purchased the yarn. And it's this. It's a chunky Aran knit jumper, but they've woven ribbon throughout it. And now I'm like, I just don't know if I would wear it. And what colour ribbon am I putting with this? Black? Ooh. I could either make it and just not put the ribbon through it. I could make it and put ribbon through, or I could just not make it. And I'm not sure what my thoughts are. So do I make one more attempt to make that, or do I just say bye to the yarn? Have I got fluff in my hair, or is it just my grey hair? I think it's just grey hair. Just a grey hair. Please vote. Attempt or just cut my losses. Because I haven't been able to decide what I am doing with that one. Sorry, the chair creaks. Because I haven't been able to decide what I'm doing with that one, I have picked up another one, and I've been doing a little bit of work on that to try and get it finished. But I will share that another day when there is a decent chunk to share with you. It's very slow going, and I figured if I show you now I'll probably lose momentum, so let me just get a bit further and then I'll share it with you. So that's all of my works in progress. That's everything. That's all of my finished objects, my works in progress, which leads us to inside HGDC. I have had an absolute wobble of confidence for HGDC. I've had an absolute wobble of confidence of HGDC this month, to the point where I've paused the sub squad to give myself a little bit of time and space to figure out my next steps. I did a post and I just shared that I have this internal battle of, do I make HGDC into a hobby? Do I take away the website, the sub squad, and if it makes a little bit of money, it makes a little bit of money from Etsy and Ravelry, fine. And then I could potentially also de-register as being self-employed, because at that point I wouldn't even earn enough to need to declare it. So then I wouldn't need to do tax returns. I wouldn't have my website fees, tax return fees, quick book fees, and all the rest of it. It'd be basically just, if a sale went through now and then a sale went through, and that would be that. And then I could just crochet as and when I've got time and take that completely away from me. Or do I just remain committed, remain focused, and continue with the plan? And I've been going backwards and forwards on it so much. One of the bigger changes at the moment is that Brad has taken a second role. So he does a full-time job and a part-time job. The part-time job he's taken so that we can fast track some of our savings goals, because with the cost of living, we're finding that month to month, it's harder to find those bigger chunks of money to save and to put aside. And back when I was pregnant, we accumulated a bit of debt and used up all of our savings whilst I was pregnant because I was unable to work. And with hindsight, we should have just treated our money as our money back then. And Brad has said the same, like from the moment I was pregnant and struggling, he should have been like, right, let's sit down, I'll cover your bills, we're a team. But our mindset was different back then. So we are where we are. And we had different bits and pieces to pay off. I'm sure I've explained all this in previous vlogs, so I won't go into it all. But I just want to make it clear for anyone watching this that, first of all, we're not poor and we're not struggling, and Brad has taken this job because we are fast tracking our goals. What he earns from his main job, we are very privileged that it covers all of our outgoings and that we don't need this money, but this is a choice we've made so that we can put more savings aside much quicker than if he didn't have this job role. And I also just want to make it clear to anybody out there that Brad has done this by choice. I'm not forcing him to do it. We have agonised over this decision for the last year, and each time I've gone to apply for a job role, something has come up and Brad has just said that he is the one that would rather go do the second job, and that's why he's doing it. I don't want anyone continuing or saying any nonsense about how I'm forcing him or I'm taking advantage of him or any of that. So if you're in my real life and that's what you're thinking, soz about that, but it's not the case. Because Brad decided that he would rather have the job, because I had the fatigue issues and whatnot going on, which at that point we didn't realise was an actual illness that we need to address, because Teddy settles with me, for the sake of Teddy's own schedule and rhythms, him knowing that I'm here no matter what makes the world a difference. And Brad said himself that he can go to work and work knowing that Teddy is okay because I am with him, and that if that wasn't the case, Brad would not be working. If I decided I wanted to go back to work full time, Brad would stop working to take care of Teddy. That's like how committed we both are to making sure Teddy has the care that he needs from us, rather than going into some sort of childcare setting. This is a joint decision that we've made, and so that's the choice that we've made, and I won't bring that up anymore, but I want it out there just in case anyone wants to try and be a certain type of way. Like, Okay, got any issues, speak to Brad about it. So because Brad has taken on this second job, which was our joint choice, and we knew it would mean there was some changes, on paper you'd think, well, it's only a small amount of hours, so it won't impact us that much, but it has taken some adjusting to get used to it. He works 4 evenings a week, which means I'm solo parenting 4 evenings a week, sometimes 5, because obviously he likes to go out and do his own bits and pieces, have his own life as well. And in my head I was a bit like, well, if Teddy's asleep, then I can get work done. That was the biggest... I don't even know why I was trying to play myself like that. Teddy is a night owl. He goes to bed late, and our attempts to alter his bedtime have never gone well. So quite often Brad comes back from this shift, he'll get back at 11 or midnight, and Teddy goes to bed around that time. So the whole time Brad's working, I am parenting, I am working. So we had reduced the amount of time I was getting in the week in the hopes that I could get the work done whilst Brad was out at work, and that only happened maybe 3 times out of the whole 2 months that he's been doing these extra shifts. So I was feeling the squeeze in that I have been feeling it in that I've been solo parenting a whole lot more, and because of that, it's not just the parenting, and it's also keeping up with the house, because there's certain things that we cannot do with Teddy. One of them being hoovering. So I can only do that when Brad has taken him somewhere to distract him out the house. And just keeping up with the dishes and the cleaning and things like that. It's just had a really big knock-on snowball impact. Like, it has, the ripples have made themselves known. And then I had stopped doing work on Saturdays, which is what today is. Normally I block record a load of content, take the pictures I need, all of that stuff, so that I know it's there ready to go. We had stopped doing that so we could have more family time, but then it was putting more pressure on me to try and get work done. And the upshot was the work wasn't getting done. And so between those additional hours and all of the health stuff going on, I didn't have my next pattern ready for the sub squad. And I just went into a bit of a spiral of like, is this what it's going to be like? How am I supposed to keep up with this? And I said to Brad, like, I just don't know what to do. I don't know whether to stop. At first, he was very much all for me stopping. But I said to him, that's not what I want. HGDC is my one thing for me. And for that to be gone, that means that my career, anything to do with me pre-Teddy is basically gone. It's either on hold or it's no longer part of my identity. And I need this for me. I don't want to stop. So after I did that post, like 24 hours later, I knew exactly what I needed to do. And I think it was just a case of, it's just been a case of forgetting the bigger picture and the bigger plan and just seeing the right now and how difficult it's been. So I have made a top secret plan for HGDC. I do want to continue the sub squad. We do need to make a few changes at home to make that possible for me. So I'm gonna share my top secret plan and the bigger picture and why I'm doing what I'm doing and where I want to be. I feel better knowing that I've done that. So, and then I have a great big plan to conquer the world. I have a big picture plan, and it's what I've been working towards since Teddy was... Since I was pregnant, this has been my plan. So it's a case of I need to just share that plan and then share the ins and outs of following it and what it's like. I can't quit on HGDC. I just can't do it. I don't want to do it. I refuse to do it. And with that has come like a mid-year reset. Brad and I have sat down and spoke about what's working and what's not working and where the extra pressure points are and what we can do to alleviate them. One of them being the weekly shop was becoming a whole thing. So we've swapped to a monthly, and that has already made a huge difference. We have made sure that we ordered extra on top of extra of what Teddy usually has, so there is no worries about running out on anything. There's no trying to get to the shop with him and not being able to go for days. Just all of these changes that we've made have made such a difference that both Brad and I have more brain space and more actual time. I had slipped a bit on taking my supplements and protein shakes and trying to get my steps in and things like that, so I just reactivated all of those. And also that I just love being in my garden, doing things like that, so making sure that I am making time for that, prioritising that in the day, even if it's just 10 minutes. And we spoke about what we want to do in terms of projects around the house to make life easier for us. So it's just been a huge mid-year reset, and now with the remainder of the year ahead of us, I feel like we've both had a refresher of what is important, where we're heading, and that all of our goals are big long-term goals. None of this is going to be an overnight success. None of this is about making multi-million pounds in the next 5 months and moving into a mansion, and like none of that is what we're after. We just want a slow and steady life. We want to be comfortable. We want that financial security and safety, hence the savings goals. We want the slower life, hence cutting out things that just don't matter. We know that with the way the cost of living is, eventually I may have to work part-time, so my choice is HGDC. We know and truly value health. That is the only wealth. Like, you need to be taking care of yourself, no matter where you are in terms of how able-bodied or disabled or chronic illness, anything. Your health is important, and taking care of what you have is the most important thing. So huge mid-year reset. Thankfully, we've had the all clear on 2 of the C word scares. We have the chronic illness still to navigate, but reset. I will let you know about how I get on with booking the photo shoot, and I'll let you know how I get on with when the Subsquad is restarting and all of those bits and bobs once I have a few more details to share with you. So thank you for anyone that's commented on those posts and emailed me back and shared your responses. I truly appreciate it, and I will see you all in the next vlog. Thank you so much for being here. Take care, and I'll see you soon. Toodle pip.